안에 있는 게 뭐가 그렇게 중요하다는 거야?
If you clicked on this video just to hear the answer to the question in the title, then let me tell you this. If you have trouble getting the original game to run on your system, or if you've never played the original Crysis and do not want to buy it in case it does not run, even though Steam refunds are a thing, then Crysis Remastered could be a good replacement with some caveats that I will go into detail about in the rest of this video. I have a mid-tier system and the game runs absolutely fine on it. Just bear in mind that this is by no means just a simple remaster like the game might have you believe. While the story and cutscenes are recreated faithfully, there are a lot of different gameplay changes that make the game outright worse than the original. However, if you own the original Crysis and have no problem with getting that game running, then stay the hell away from this remaster. Sure, Crytek might have enticed us with the pretty looking god rays and high-res textures in the comparison trailers, but Crysis Remastered is one of the first remasters I've played in recent memory that has tampered with the core gameplay to the extent that this one has. You might be wondering though, before we get into this video, who the hell is Scav Merchant Hub and how tight is this? Well, I just got done working on this monstrosity, an almost 2-hour long analysis of the entire original game that you should watch after finishing this video. Thanks to making that series, a lot of the game is still very fresh in my mind and I was able to very quickly pick up on the differences between Crysis Remastered and the original. So without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. Initially, upon starting the game up, there were some things that impressed me even just in the menu, that being how close it looks and feels to the original game. This menu coupled with the music was engraved into my memory ever since playing this game for the first time in 2008. Then you go into the options menu and finally, the gods of Crytek have granted us with a refresh rate option. Epic. So far, things were looking good. Now here's the important thing to remember as we move on. I went into this game specifically keeping in mind that this is a remaster and not a remake. This meant that my expectations had to be tempered. I knew that everything I was about to see was largely going to be unchanged, and frankly that's how a good remaster should be. Keep everything the same as it was, but modernize the graphics, controls, and the UI. But unfortunately, my already lowered expectations are still not met, and it all started from the moment I pressed play. Now look, this first point might be a little petty, and I wouldn't really care if it wasn't for the state of the rest of the game, but why the hell would you remove that intro cinematic? Look, I get it. It was a little bit jarring pressing play, watching that cutscene, then going through a loading screen only to watch another cutscene right afterwards. But like, why not at least have it play when the game boots up? Just make it skippable and we have no problems. It would have been so cool to see this remade with the new graphics. But like, whatever. I see that it's missing, but I think to myself, it is what it is. But the disappointment doesn't stop here. Let's talk about the graphics. We get the first cutscene of the game and, I mean, ultimately it's up to yourself to decide which game looks better. But in my opinion, this game looks so much worse than the original in so many different ways, especially in the characters' faces.
Well, it's up. Can it, Psycho?
The game auto-set my graphics options to medium upon first startup, and I didn't change the textures to high until after landing on the island. Even then, everyone has these weird looking doe eyes that pierce straight into your fucking soul. And just on a more technical level, there are a lot of issues I've noticed with clipping, like here where Prophet's face starts clipping through his suit. It really feels like we've gone down a few generations here. I don't know how the people at Crytek could have compared this to the original game and thought it looked better. And sure, we get those god rays, which make for some beautiful looking moments here and there, but what is the point of any of it if you're just going to put this disgusting foggy haze effect around the map? I guess maybe global warming took more of an effect in this version of 2020. Feels like I would develop carcinoma after spending just 20 minutes in this dump. And the graphics aren't even consistent. One moment you're looking at this high-res texture, and the next, you're looking at this keyboard ripped straight out of GoldenEye, and it's not even like this hacking terminal only shows up once and is done. You're gonna see this thing at least 5 times before the end of the game. And none of the developers thought to check what this item that everyone will be seeing numerous different times over looked like. Speaking of textures, maximum speed mode now makes it look like no man has suffered kidney failure. I mentioned in my long analysis that the suit abilities will make the wearer very easy to see from a distance, but this is just taking the literal piss. I will say this at least, the game ran well for the couple of hours that I played it. I cannot say how it runs in the last few levels of the game, as I am not putting myself through that shit again, but that's where the original always struggled. So I'd be wary of that if you're planning to buy this game. Okay, so the graphics are kinda scuffed, but graphics isn't all that makes a good remaster. What about some of the mechanical changes? Well, let's start with the good. The game defaults you to the new nanosuit control style of Crysis 2 and 3. That being E to cloak, Q to armor mode, strength mode activates when you hold the jump button to jump higher, and speed mode comes on when you sprint. Now, I don't know if anyone else had a problem like this, but this happened to me. When I was falling out of the plane at the start, I noticed that maximum strength mode was on by default. Pretty weird. Then, when the game started to teach me all the controls on the beach, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't toggle armor or cloak mode. This could have been something I missed. Maybe I accidentally tried pressing one of the buttons during the nanosuit reboot sequence, God forbid. But all of this so far just seemed really broken to me. I was therefore very pleasantly surprised to find out that you can change back to the original control style in the game settings. I thought, holy shit, this is actually going to be a great remaster. The weapons have also seen a little tweaking here. I complained a lot about the Korean AK in part 2 of my analysis videos, saying that it was completely inferior to the SCAR. The recoil in the remaster has been reduced to pretty much match the SCAR, making it a lot more enjoyable to shoot at medium ranges. Well, now I actually feel like using the fucking thing from time to time. But that's about all the good things I have to say, because there are a lot of mechanics left that have been tampered with for no good reason. For starters, another thing I complained about in terms of the gunplay in the original was that you did not carry enough ammo for your guns. So you might be wondering, did they increase your ammo capacity in the remaster? No. An entire magazine for the AK and 2 for the SCAR. Just gone. Why have they done this? I don't know, man. Maybe to try and encourage you to use more guns? But you still only have 2 rifle slots, which means you're going to be dropping guns like the SCAR when it inevitably runs out of ammo, and probably not getting it back until much later in the game. You may have noticed that the game looks a little zoomed in, not to go too total biscuit on you this early in the video, but leave it to Crytek to release a PC game in 2021 without a fucking FOV slider. Even Bethesda started putting those into their games. But we are in luck. If you press the tilde key and type this in, you'll increase your FOV. You can thank me with a like on this video. Then there's the controls. Let me ask you this, do you like toggle crouch? Or would you prefer holding a button instead? Kind of like the gamer's Coke or Pepsi, right? Well, too fucking bad. We have toggle crouch or get the fuck out of my Denny's. Then there's also the fact that the new suit layout takes up the Q and E keys, these being the buttons originally reserved for leaning left and right. Don't worry though, if you prefer the new layout, Crytek decided to bless you with these fucking horrendous binds. T and H to lean.
Are you mad? Are you mad?
But the worst thing about the controls is this new weird toggle hold hybrid thing going on with some of the buttons. For example, you can hold shift to sprint, and as soon as you let it go, you also stop sprinting. Classic. But if you just tap shift, then that will toggle sprinting instead. This is the same with aim down sights. Click once to toggle, or just hold to aim instead. It would be one thing if you could change that in the settings, but Crytek were too lazy to make these separate controls. So you're just stuck with this. This just makes everything feel so sticky. There were so many scenarios when an enemy ran out for a split second before hiding again, so I reactively pressed right mouse button to aim, but then was confused why I was still aiming even though I wasn't holding the button down. That, and sometimes I would press a button to crouchers to open the weapon attachment menu and nothing would happen. I seemingly just had to spam crouch sometimes to make it work. But the worst, by far the worst thing they did to this game, they fucked the AI up. I'm not even talking about the glitches. People have always complained about the AI in the original game, but it was relatively rare to see the AI completely spaz out like it does here. The thing that really screws them up now is that seemingly every soldier in the KPA has cyberpunk-style eye modifications, because they're able to spot you from a ridiculous distance away, making stealth an absolute chore. It used to be if an enemy saw you, we'd have maybe 2 seconds to react by going prone and going behind cover, or by cloaking. There's none of that here anymore. Did your foot accidentally come out from behind the wall? Well, mission failed, bud. The whole facility is alerted to your presence now. And in case you are wondering, I played both my playthroughs in the original as well as this one on hard difficulty, so my experience should have been similar, if not identical. It just doesn't make sense to me. Were people complaining that the KPA soldiers were too easy in the game or something? I thought that most of the complaints were that their pathing was pretty rough and that they didn't like to take cover. I really can't stress this enough. Everything up until now was pretty annoying, but this fuckery with the AI is what really damns the game for me. And look, I guess there isn't much more I need to say now. I'll just mention quickly that a lot of the audio was redone for many different sound effects in the game, some being really good like the new AK sounds, but others are super fucking annoying, like every time you're in cloak mode now you subject yourself to binaural dog whistles in your ears. So avoid this game. Unless you're really desperate to play Crysis 1 and you have no other way to do it. This game is still on sale on Steam for Christmas and it's actually pretty cheap. Even so, I'm still getting my money back. But to finish this video off, I'll leave you with this moment I caught while streaming the game to my friends. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, there's something going on there.
The fucking.
Fucking shucking. Oh, they died?
Yep.
Yo. Holy fuck.
I want you to subscribe to me
Scav Merchant Hub.
on YouTube. Thank you, cringe. Bye.
What goes up must come down. Yeah, my feet don't touch the ground. See the world spinning upside down. A mighty crash without a sound. I can feel your every rage. Step aside.